There are certain core teachings that allow many of you to be independent. There are certain core teachings that have allowed some of you to be holiness. So that's a form of teaching. It's your systematic, doctrinal, or core beliefs. Am I making good sense so far? Now, preaching and teaching are both very effective, but they are most effective when an outline is developed and actually followed. And I know a lot of us today, we are in that generation where we want to let the Lord lead us. And we just going to let Jesus, oh, he just leads me. And I say this in every format like this that I do and I conduct. Have you ever heard a preacher say, when I got ready to preach, God changed my message? And I always tell a person, if God changed your message, that means that the first one you had, he didn't give it to you. And there's nothing wrong with this. Now, please follow me. Because if God speaks to you at that moment and tells you to preach something else, you need to preach what God told you. But stop acting like God is schizophrenic. God is omniscient. God already knew who you were going to be preaching to. Am I right?
Yes.
So God, there is no reason why God would give you a message for the occasion, and then when you get there, oh, somebody else came, well, I got to change that because I didn't know who was coming. That's not God. So what we have to be honest and admit sometimes is the first message we had, it was just something we came up with ourselves. We knew we needed to preach. We knew we needed we were scheduled to preach, and we had to say something, so we devised the sermon. So you new preachers, what I'm saying may not make sense to you yet. But after you've been preaching a while, I'd be lying if I was to tell you every sermon I've preached came straight from the throne room. No, they didn't. Not everyone. When you preach as much as I preach now, all right, preached last Sunday, then I had to preach Wednesday night, then I had to fly into Raleigh on Thursday night, just got back in, and I'm in here teaching you today. I'm going to be preaching tomorrow at Temple of Prayer. I'm flying out of here tomorrow night, right after my 30-year celebration. I'm flying straight out of here, amen, going to Los Angeles. I'll be preaching in Los Angeles on Monday. When you're preaching like that all the time, it don't need to be saying every time I'm out the throne, every time I'm out the footboard, I've heard from heaven. No! Sometimes I had to regurgitate a whole.
Come on.
And what I got, amen, God gave it to me at that time.
Come on. Come on.
But sometimes I had to go and rework that bad boy because God hadn't said nothing. He hadn't spoken. And I know I'm scheduled to preach, and he still hadn't spoken, and I got enough sense to know, well, I ain't going to walk in the pulpit and I ain't got nothing to say. All right? So I've learned, when he changes it, it's not God changed what he gave me. God just didn't want me to preach what I designed. What I had orchestrated myself. So stop telling lies on God. Like, God gave me something and then, woo, when I got up, he changed it. No. One of those messages was not from God. Okay? So it helps when an outline is developed and when it is followed, because I know old school preachers used to tell you not to use a script, and that was a misinterpretation of what Jesus had told the disciples when he told them, go and don't carry a script. But he did not say script. It was not S-C-I-P-T. That would have been manuscript. It was S-C-R-I-P, which meant bag, luggage. So there's nothing wrong with having a manuscript. We don't want to read it per se, but it does help when you follow an outline because it keeps you moving. Preaching and teaching are effective when you, as the vessel, are prepared. one of the worst things you can find is an unprepared preacher. They're getting up to preach, and everything out of their mouth is, or you just wrote something down, you don't even know what you wrote. And worst thing now, one of the worst things that has happened to a lot of the modern day preachers is the internet. And some of you have the gall to go on downloading someone else's sermon. And if you're going to download somebody's sermon, at least make sure you know all the words. You don't get up there, And this is no exaggeration. I was at a service many years ago, and the preacher, he had downloaded someone's sermon. It was very evident, or had gotten one of those preaching books. But the sermon could not have been his. It could not have come from God for him. And he was talking about Genesis and was trying to get deep. And I think he was trying to say when the world was in chaos. And he began to, and we see that God began to deal with mankind when the world was in charcoal. You're like, and you know, you're sitting there like, when the world was in charcoal. And it's almost like all over the audience, it started clicking. He's trying to say chaos, and all over the audience, you just see people one by one. Oh my God, don't do that. Because I can't remember anything else from that guy's message. Because after that, I tuned him out. Because I understood. He didn't know what he was talking about. He could not have written a sermon, and he didn't even know how to pronounce the word.
All right.
Preaching. Also, I want to make sure you understand what we're dealing with today. This is not seminary. If you want my seminary class, I want you to sign up for the United Theological Institute. It will bless you. But this is good common sense preaching, common sense principles. Because a lot of us, when we go to seminary, we come out of seminary and we forget that the people we are preaching to, for the most part, have not been to seminary. And so we're trying to stand there and give them words with 25 syllables. But that's not good preaching unless you are perhaps like Noah Jones. That's his brand. That's the way he has branded himself. So if Bishop Jones, if he doesn't give us words with 25 syllables, we're trying to figure out what's wrong with him, because that's his brand. That's what we're expecting from him. But look at someone and say, you're not Noah Jones. Okay? So unless God deals with you in that way, don't be out there trying to show people how smart you are. People don't care how much you know. They want to know how much you care.
All right.
So as a vessel, make sure you are prepared. Preaching and teaching, they are effective when you, as the expositor, are very confident. You must be confident. You don't need to be arrogant, but you need to be confident. Look at someone and say, don't be arrogant. Don't be arrogant, but be confident. But be confident. Now, can you imagine coming into this workshop, you paid your money, and I walk in here today, and I sure thank y'all for coming. Man, don't look at me like that, man. That make me nervous. You'll be trying to figure out, what in the world am I doing here? This guy is not even confident enough to look at me. So you have to be confident, but that confidence can't cross over into arrogance. When I get ready to preach, my preachers, they be laughing at me. Sometimes I'll be so scared, sometimes I'll be nervous. You know, if people don't think, because you preach all the time, they don't think you still feel the jitters. But I got news for you. If you ever get beyond the jitters, you've gone too far. You need to turn around. Every time I get ready to preach, you know, I'm a little jittery, I'm a little nervous. I go to a place that first time, oh boy, trying to fill it out there. You know, you get ready to get up, you're like, okay, help me, Lord. But you ain't gonna know it.
That's right.
Only reason you know it is because I just told you. Because when I get up, I'm gonna act like I own the room. I get up, man. They call my name. I just walk slow. I make sure. Come to the pulpit slow. y'all don't understand is I'm walking slow because I'm trying to get myself ready.